Jihadist bloodbath. Over 500 dead in shocking massacre in Burkina Faso. On October 24th, excuse me, let me rewind. On August 24th, a horrific massacre unfolded near Barsol, Barsalogho, a town in north central Burkina Faso, resulting in an estimated 500 deaths. Suspected jihadists attacked hundreds of civilians who were digging trenches to protect their village, an action reportedly mandated by the Burkinabè troops. The assault, one of the deadliest since the country, excuse me, one the assault, one of the deadliest since the terrorist groups linked to Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State began operating within the country a decade ago, has left the nation reeling. A survivor recounted the gruesome aftermath. Quote, we went out with carts to collect the bodies of my older brothers. We spent a long time going through the bodies piled up under trees. The tragedy highlights the ongoing security crisis in Burkina Faso, which led to a military coup in 2022. While the ruling junta condemned the violence, they have not provided official casualty figures. The military groups, the militant group, Jama'a Nusrat al-Islam wa al-Muslimin, claimed responsibility for the attack, asserting they targeted soldiers and militia members, even though eyewitness accounts suggest that many victims were civilians. So, yeah, D is bringing up an excellent point right away. Over 500. Imagine the world response if this happened in Europe. This barely made the news. So, this is one of the worst attacks that has happened in Burkina Faso's history. And yeah, and so D, who is our lovely editor, one of the best volunteers on our team, said, so I wanted to include it today because she helps me pick out the news. And I did think that this was really important to highlight. It's shocking that this barely makes the news, that, a lot of people point out the hypocrisy of the global media landscape when it comes to what's going on in Sudan, um, versus what's going on in Gaza. And to provide a little bit of background, Burkina Faso has gone through a series of military coups lately. I think they had two in 1 year, like 2 years ago. And basically, the security situation is really, really poor. And this has to do with how the security situation in the Sahel in general has been deteriorating for about 10 years now. And basically, this is actually really sad. So the military junta is not able to provide security for the people, and there was this town where the military came into town one day, this is my understanding, and basically forced the population. They're saying, okay, as a security measure, we are going to dig trenches around this town to help, provide a little bit of a barrier. Okay, so the population gets forced into digging these trenches. What's so horrible is that these trenches essentially became their mass graves, because then the jihadists roll up and just start opening fire on people. And reportedly, over 500 people were killed. I've seen a number as high as like 600. And the jihadists, of course, say, oh, no, these are not civilians at all. They're all soldiers. Versus, like, I've seen the video footage. These people are not dressed as soldiers. They're dressed as some random people in a town who are being forced to dig trenches in an attempt to have any security.
Yeah. I'm looking
Go
at the
ahead.
videos. This is freaking horrific. Like, we can't even show this. This is what
Oh,
the
God,
hell?
no.
This is like a night.
Yeah, no, I don't
This is
even
a
want you to scroll
nightmare.
down. Like, do not even scroll
Yeah.
down.
Oh my God, what the hell? Imagine if this happened in any other country. This would be headline news everywhere right now. 500 civilians were basically they were trying to. If you look at the videos, there are trenches. So basically, they knew that their attack is going to happen. So they were trying to protect their villages. And while they were digging the trenches, then the Islamists showed up and just shoot them in those trenches. and you could see the trenches is filled with bodies of these civilians who are just trying to protect their village. Wait, why did they kill it? Why were the Islamists attacking this village to begin with? Like, what the hell was on? What the
That isn't
dispute
even
over?
entirely clear to me.
No.
That isn't even entirely clear to me. Like, I don't know if it's just because they think they're on the side of the government or something. Like, it's but they did claim the attack.
Yeah. This is insane. This is like 500. This is a huge massacre. How come this was nowhere? Honestly, if this was in almost most other countries, this would be all over the fucking news.
And I think this is really important because a lot of people now, my understanding is this is a group linked to Al-Qaeda, not which is obviously separate than ISIS. But it makes me think about how people, until a lot of activity that's been happening within the past 10 months, thought that ISIS was a thing of the past. And if you pay attention, you know that ISIS didn't go away. They were very active in Africa with the ISWAP division. But people just weren't paying attention. So they had this delusion that ISIS just completely went away because they were defeated in Mosul. And it's just simply not the case. And I think people have this misconception just because there's literally no attention given to what happens in Africa, particularly the Sahel. Partially because it is a really complicated issue, that whole region and the conflict there, that I think is pretty difficult for people to understand. It's highly multifactorial. But it's still crazy that it gets like no attention.
Can you guys just imagine, like, you have just people with guns running around in an area where 500 people and they're just shooting them? Like, just imagine that 500 people in an open space area, and then with nothing to defend themselves, and just being chased around by jihadists and shooting them until 500 of them dies. Like, can you just imagine that scene? Because that's what I'm looking at. That is, what the hell? This is insane. So I'm trying to read the motivations. So they're trying to destabilize the region to expand their influence and control. That's basically the motivation. So they were like, oh, you can't build trenches against us. We're trying to destabilize this region, and this is resistance. So when they saw that the trenches were being made, they were like, okay, we are going to come and kill all of you before you manage to build those trenches.
Yeah.
That is insane.
It's horrible.
Why is this not all over the fucking... Oh my God. Imagine if we said jihadists killed like 500. I don't even need to say France, okay? Seriously, like, obviously if it was in France and UK and Germany, people were like, yeah, of course I would get more attention. But I'm saying even in Egypt, for example, like, if we had jihadists killing 500 people, I'm not even talking about first world Western or North American or Western European or European countries or stuff. I'm talking about other countries as well. If this was in Egypt, this would be headline news right now. If this was in Bangladesh, even this would be headline news right now. 500 people were killed by Islamists in Bangladesh. This would be headline news.
Mm-hmm.
But like, there's some countries that are even below, like way below even the position where countries like Egypt or Bangladesh are in. If this was in Pakistan, this would be headline news. 500 people killed by Islamists in Pakistan, this would be headline news. Maybe not as big of a news as if it was in France or in the UK, but it would still make it much higher in the news than now. Yeah, okay, I don't know. Okay.
I think it's because people have this misconception that it's just too complicated to understand. And because they find it complicated to understand, they just think that that's how people live there, which is such a horrible It's such a horrible line of thinking. But
Also, yeah. I just want to make sure that people understand that this is not the media's fault. The media is reporting this. It's not being consumed. I mean, this is on the media. It's on their website, but people are not clicking on it, so they're not going to. It's not going to make it to the headline news because people are just not going to. I mean, the reports that we're getting from this comes from people like, oh, mainstream media is bad. Like you wouldn't even know that this is happening if it wasn't because of mainstream media. The mainstream media is the only group of people that go and actually tell you that this is happening. You think alternative media has like journalists on the ground over there to be able to tell you that this is happening? This is being reported by mainstream media, but people are not consuming it. Yeah.
Okay, so
why am I scrolling down?
Yeah, what are you doing?
I'm sorry.
I told you not to.
Okay, but it didn't. You have to play the video to get to the bad part. So there's nothing. There was nothing.
Let's go to the super chats. Ali Shahalile gave a super chat. Thank you, my friend. Saying, question to my Persian friend: why not rebrand it to Christian Republic? Because we're not Christian.
Because not only we're not Christian, we're actually anti-Christianity. Why should we rebrand it to Christian? We're not Christian, Ali. We're not Christian. We're actually against Christianity.
As shocking as it might be. Also, I don't like the idea of a Christian republic.
Oh my god, yeah, no.
Okay, Sergeant gave another super chat saying, I said goal, not God. Ham open about their intentions. Okay, can people please type in full sentences?
Yes. I don't know.
How am I supposed to know what you're saying? You have enough characters to say Hamas. I know you have enough characters to say Hamas. You don't have to say ham. This is confusing, you guys. I don't even remember what the original super chat was. I'm like, am I off base, or did you literally not use a full spelled out word? Okay, like now I'm. Don't gaslight me, bro. GJ gave a super chat saying, legally fighting socials, ask Luis Rossman. Okay, well, I'm gonna have to look this guy up. Okay, and Kenny, we're talking about our last segment, is saying, I need a new word for insane after hearing that. Yeah, you're not kidding. GJ gave another super chat saying, in global perspective, I still can't believe how little the whole world did against the Rwanda Hutu Tutsi machete slaughterings of the 1990s. Or the Bosnian genocide, for that matter. It's one of those situations where it's like, we had a pretty damn good idea of what was happening for a long time and just didn't do anything to stop it.
Do you know who makes the most amazing, gorgeous, and other adjectives that I can't use here on YouTube, blasphemous art ever? We do! And for some reason, we are giving it away for free. Download them now using the link in the description before we change our mind.